We're going to move on to our red cards. We'll start with our former colleague, Mr. Barry Ivey. Would you approach the stage? Welcome to House and Governmental, Mr. Ivey.
Thank you, thank you.
Want to introduce yourself for the committee, even
Yes,
though
I
you're
am
pretty familiar?
Mr. Barry Ivey, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm very familiar with this committee, having served 2 terms on this committee. I understand the challenges and issues that y'all have to deal with, and these are no small decisions. So I appreciate your time and attention. Oh, I'm on. Wait, okay, I got it. All right. So it is not my intentions to be offensive in what I say, but in the sake of brevity, I may not be able to provide all the contextual clarification and prefacing of statements. So my apologies for that. So we were told by Governor Landry that it was going to be different this term. Finally, you know, Republicans rule, so it's going to be different, and that we would be placing people over politics. But in his first acts as governor, he is pushing a bill that exactly places politics over people. That's what this bill does. This bill isn't about, or excuse me, this bill is about political interest. It is not about the people's interest. Statistics, the LAGOP, they came up here, testified. I was on the Serve on State Central Committee for 12 years. Not running again, so I'm very aware of state party politics, having, again, been involved for quite a while. So we've heard the data, Democrats, there's 38.48% registered Democrats as of yesterday's numbers, 33.91% registered Republicans, and 27.61% other. My interpretation is this, 66.09% of the registered voters in the state don't want to have an R by their name. They've had plenty of opportunity. Now, this state elects Rs, as is evidenced by this last fall's election. So it's not about Rs getting into office. They get there. But how come with such, strong support by the electorate for Rs, how come only 33.91% want to have an R by their name? People can switch. So in some of the comments is made, basically it's like join the party or don't participate. But that's not disenfranchising voters in the process. Look, there was only 36.3% turnout in the primary. And then the election that we're going to allow everybody to participate in, if we had this process set up for this past fall, there's a whopping turnout of 23.1% for the statewide offices in the runoff. Who are we kidding? This is not about serving the people's best interest. Besides the issues with the plurality and what the implications mean there. So it was said, Mr. Buckles had stated, they said, if I'm quoting correctly, we wouldn't be the only state disenfranchising voters, and he gave Pennsylvania as an example. And so, again, we had the October and November primary, runoffs. And I think people are disillusioned with state politics. They're disillusioned with the politics because too often it's more about political interest, political pressures, and everything else. And the reality is that you can't serve political interests and the people at the same time. And in our state's history, that it's more of what our legacy is. So anyway, in closing, I appreciate one last closing statement is this. If you don't fully understand this bill, who it impacts, how it works, or who it serves, vote no. The only mandate that this be done in this compressed special session is from the governor. This bill can be taken up during the general session and provide more opportunity for the public to weigh in. Thank you.
Representative Ivey, I have a question for you just on your last comment. And you just mentioned can't serve the political interest and the people at the same time. I mean, from a literal standpoint, they have sent us here to represent their political interests. So how are you not serving the people at the same time? This is a political building. This is a political body. You're not going to take politics out of it. Your politics is local. There's no question about it. But how can you say you can't serve the political interests, your values, and your people at the same time when that's when they elected to do it. I want to give you the opportunity to explain yourself is why I'm asking.
And respectfully, my perspective may be more novel. So the role that each of you serve in is as a lawmaker. That's the job. The job is policy. That is at the bedrock what this job is. Policy is the only thing that can shape the future of this state. That's what actually moves the needle. Politics has never solved a single problem. Politics is a bunch of factions. It's a bunch of people who are more concerned more often. If you read the history of our country, our founding fathers, George White and other people's perspective on political factions, what you find is it's more about power and control, and it's more specialized interests than the interests of the people. And so that's my perspective on what the job is. It's not about politics. It's policy.
And I get the policy making part of it, but if you're an R or if you're a D, typically you're supporting certain policies, and the people that you represent, that's why they send you here. Not because you have the R or the D, but it's a general assertion that saying, hey, this is a group of policies that the Democrats support. This is a group of policies that the Republicans support. And so they go along with each other, and it's a political party for a reason. It's politics, and I agree with you that we are policymakers. There's no question about it. But to have the narrative that you're going to take politics out of political offices and the policymakers, I just don't know if that narrative is so literal, and I get it. The statesman in you is voicing this concern, but I think we can all still. I think you represented your people when you were in office through your politics and your policy making, and your constituents sent you here for that reason. I think each of us has done the same thing, and if any of our folks, if we are representing something other than what we portray in our political interests and start to adopt policies that don't align with those political interests, we're going to be voted out. So I see a little bit more gray there than just being absolute, as you mentioned, and
I recognize that, and I will say there's a big difference between there's been some direct correlations being made between federal, and state government. They're two different universes. They're nothing alike, and so to the extent, and again, in my experience with the state party, the entirety of the focus of the party, if in the few instances that policy may even have been discussed, was at the federal level and certainly never at the state level. And so I think this illusion, it's so abstract, and most people don't realize that the state party meets three to four times a year. Usually the fourth meeting gets canceled. Meets 3 times a year, and ultimately, all power, at least with the LA GOP, resides with the executive committee. That's where all the day-to-day decisions are made. There's no discussions on policy that affects the direction and future of this state, and there's no engagement. There's been no, nothing outlined by the LA GOP as far as the policies in my last 12 years. I don't know if you've received anything from the state level. Obviously, at the delegation level, we discuss policy, every day. But anyway,
yeah,
I appreciate the opportunity to make clarification.
Representative New Alpha, question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say hello to my former colleague and my former committee member, Representative Ivey. It's good and refreshing to have you back.
It's Mr. Ivey now.
Mr. You will always be Representative Ivey to me. But I appreciate you coming back and participating in this process as Citizen Ivey and being the voice of reason and showing us pointing out things that we normally don't see. And I do like your explanation and the differentiation between policy making and politics, because politics does often negatively impact the policies that we are here to make, to put this state on the right track. But I just wanted to say hello.
Thank you.
And welcome back.
Appreciate it. I won't be a stranger, so sorry.
Don't. Please don't.
You had some people
guessing. I wonder if I was the
guessing.
inspiration for the 3-minute rule request. See me in the crowd. Okay. Not you, Ms. Thomas.
Thank,
Representative Thomas.
thank you, former Representative Ivey. Thank you, Ms. Newell. That clears the board. What's that? Did I say miss? I'm sorry. Representative Newell.